good evening again, Chaiwallas. It's your Chief Chaiwalla, Meherwan Irani, with another cup of chai on this beautiful Wednesday at 4 p.m. Chai Pani Mom at the helm.
Hi, everybody.
This chai has been sponsored by East Fork Pottery. No, not really. Just a shout out to my friends in Asheville. Love their pottery. Look at that beautiful cup. So, in case you're wondering, why is he gloved today? Why is the man wearing a surgical glove? No, we're not about to intubate. We're about to massage and marinate our chicken. So today's special is butter chicken. Probably one of the most famous, iconic chai pani dishes of all time. Probably one of the famous, most iconic Indian dishes of all time. A precursor to Chicken Tikka Masala, whatever it is the British came up with to bastardize our beloved butter chicken. But this dish was supposedly invented at Moti Mahal in Delhi, in Old Delhi near Chandni Chowk, famous restaurant for tandoori chicken, and supposedly sometime in the 40s they came up with this dish. Who knows if it's true or not, but hey, we're here to make butter chicken. So, the reason I got the glove on is to talk about the chicken part first. I've got Thai chicken, and I know the video said frostbitten chicken. I'm sure you guys all have some freezer burned chicken in your fridge, whether it's chicken breast or chicken thigh or whatever it is, just use it because this dish is perfect for that. The creamy sauce is going to completely coat the chicken, so even if your chicken's a little rubbery, this butter chicken sauce will take care of everything. So, in here, I've got thigh meat cut up, boneless, skinless, and then on that I added some Kashmiri chili powder, and I should have done this in real time, but I went and did it already, and a little bit of turmeric, and some kosher salt. And then I gave it a little squeeze of fresh lime juice, which I already did, but I'll give it a little extra because it doesn't hurt. And that's our marinade.
People can find the exact proportions
online at Spicewalla.com. We've got the recipe posted already. And I added a little bit of this ginger garlic paste. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but it's a ginger garlic paste, exactly what it sounds like, and it's added in there. So this is our marinade for the chicken. And we're going to do that first real quick, and then let it sit while we get the butter sauce ready. So Indians love doing a first brine, if you will, sort of a wet brine on our meats. Usually some ginger and garlic, which provides acidity and flavor, turmeric, salt, and chili powder. And that's usually all you need. So whether it's goat meat or chicken meat or even fish, it's a great rub, sort of almost like our version of a brine, and already smells good. Here's the deal. It's a great marinade. There's no dairy in it. But it's a great marinade even for something that you want to cook tomorrow. I'd leave the lime part out because you don't want to ceviche the chicken. But the turmeric and the salt and the ginger garlic almost act as an antibiotic, if you will, on the, not an antibiotic, not the right word, a antimicrobial. Yes. Don't start snorting this stuff to get rid of COVID-19. It acts as an antimicrobial and helps preserve the meat, and it doesn't get gamey, and the meat will last longer. So if you got some meat in the fridge you're not sure what you want to do with, but you want to marinate and put it aside, rub some turmeric, chili, salt, ginger garlic paste on it, it'll stay a lot longer than without it. All right, let's go to the butter sauce, the most incredible, famous part of this dish. First, 1 cup of chai.
So you're using a, what kind of pan is this?
This is a Lodge cast iron Dutch oven by the good folks at Lodge. Again, guys, I'm not doing this because they're sponsoring me. I'm doing this because I love these products. And if anybody asks me, what do you cook with? I tell them the things that I love. So this one I bought, by the way, myself with my own money, see? And I like it because it's a heavy bottom pot. It's cast iron, which retains a lot of heat, but it's got a porcelain enamel finish on the inside, so the food doesn't stick to it. And I love it for cooking. For butter chicken, you want something that's wide bottomed and thick because you're going to be doing a lot of cooking. Okay, oil's hot. Let's start with some cumin seed. If you remember from previous videos, we want our cumin seeds to sputter. So first put a couple in there. Yes, they're wiggling, which means it's ready.
Wiggling.
Wiggling. So
Look at them dancing around.
About a healthy teaspoon and a half of cumin seeds. What I'm doing is flavoring the oil right now with these cumin seeds. That's why I don't put cumin powder in there because it'll burn, but this is getting in there and adding, good God, you can already smell it. That's so amazing. Now next, we're gonna add some of this green chilies over here that I've diced up, about 2 tablespoons. I de-seeded them, got rid of the white pit so they'll add flavor without necessarily a lot of the heat. Give those a little stir real quick. And now I'm gonna put in essentially 1 large red onion. So it should be about almost 2 cups of diced onion, but here's what I did. So smart.
So smart.
So smart.
Look
I
at
went
that.
ahead and caramelized them because otherwise it would take 30 minutes just to do them on the video. All I did was added oil and cooked them until they're almost done but not completely done. I'm going to put them in here so that this whole cooking video will take less than 30 minutes instead of, you know, an hour, because it does take forever to get your onions perfectly caramelized. Look at that. Done and done. And so if you were doing this from scratch, you'd put the onions into this phase and you'd cook the onions and the green chilies until the onions look like this. Sort of golden brownish but not completely done. Still a little bit translucent. And what do we do at this phase is we're going to now add the ginger garlic paste. So
And
about
how did
2
you make that ginger
healthy
garlic paste?
Teaspoons, yeah. So we're going to tell you how we did this. It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Equal parts fresh peeled ginger and equal parts fresh peeled garlic. So if you got a half a cup of each, just roughly chopped up ginger, you know, you don't have to be precise. Throw it in a blender or food processor and buzz it. If it's not turning fine into a paste like this, keep adding a little bit of water until it turns in, but not too much. Just, you know, maybe a tablespoon of water should do it to get the food processor buzzing and turn it into an actual paste. Once it's in a paste, you can keep it in an airtight jar. I wouldn't use plastic, glass only, and it'll stay in the fridge for quite a few days, for up to a week, easily.
Somebody's asking if this is going to be posted on IGTV so they can catch it later.
Absolutely, it'll be posted on IGTV and catch it later. You're going to miss the real-time shenanigans of one Meherwan Irani, but hey, come back and check out the channel later. It's okay.
Well, they're trying to work. We'll give them a free pass.
All right, so why do we blend ginger and garlic paste together? Because, and I mentioned this in previous videos, the ginger garlic, when they're blended together and pureed together, when you fry them, they actually caramelize and turn and basically create a fond, which is what we want, and add incredible depth of flavor. If you were to just cook ginger by itself, it'll become rubbery and chewy, you know, and pithy, and you'll taste the fibers in your mouth. And if you just fry the garlic by itself, whether it's fine diced or chopped, the garlic is probably going to burn. But something about the two of them being blended together is a magical combination that you can actually fry along with your onions without worrying about the ginger frying, and of course, the garlic burning, and also the ginger being fibrous, because the pulverization of the ginger kind of, you know, breaks the fibers down, so you don't get those little fibery bits of ginger in your mouth, but you get all that flavor. And all of this is going to melt together and turn into a beautiful paste, which will be the foundation for our butter sauce.
So a couple things. Chai Pani wants you to know that the recipe is going to be available on Spicewalla's blog. And most importantly, Farhan wants to know when his butter chicken is going to arrive by mail.
Farhan, actually, you zest. No, you see what I said? You jest. A little chef joke there. You jest, Farhan, but there is soon to be Chai Pani's take-home butter chicken.
What?
Arriving soon to a grocery store, hopefully near you. So our good friends at Spicewalla are going to be #Spicewalla, @Spicewalla, go to Spicewalla.com, are going to be carrying Chai Pani's butter chicken, conveniently packed, freshly made, where they can deliver to your home, as well as our saag paneer, our chole, and other delightful curries from the Chai Pani repertoire, all made freshly by our chefs who are dying to get back to work. So we're going to make it in our kitchens just like we would for you if you were to come into the restaurant, except it'll be delivered to you in 16-ounce pint-sized jars, ready to heat, ready to eat.
Butter chicken everywhere.
Butter chicken here, butter chicken there. So far, I'm coming for you, baby. Coming for you. And folks, again, talking about excellent meat, I love giving a shout out to my friends. If you haven't been to Atlanta Halal, go check it out. That's Farhan and his dad's phenomenal butchery, abattoir, for all things Indian meats. But they have amazing chicken, they have lamb, they have, most importantly, goat, which if you haven't had mutton before, it's phenomenal. And also there's a restaurant in Delhi there where the food is fantastic. Farhan, am I missing anything? Tell me.
Shoot us a note if we missed something. Somebody's asking about this spatula. This is just a silicone spatula,
Just
right?
a silicone spatula.
So it doesn't...
Alrighty. So, now this is at this phase. Okay. In case you're wondering what in God's name this situation is sitting over here.
What
this
in God's name?
A charred bell pepper. I'm going to add the charred bell pepper to this right now. Why do I char it? Okay. Quite often Indian rich Mughlai style dishes like butter chicken and Rogan Josh, any kind of masala, Mughlai style dish where you've got this rich creamy gravy that's dairy based. quite often we use either ground up melon seed or ground up cashews or ground up poppy seeds and add that as a paste to the dish to add incredible depth and incredible body. But the problem for me is that it gets really rich and almost too much. I mean, it's meant to be a royal Mughlai style dish, and I just don't like having the gravy be that rich, that heavy, that thick. So what I did instead was got rid of that and substitute a charred bell pepper. The bell pepper is going to add the same body that the melon musk or the cashew paste would, or the poppy seed paste would. But by charring it, I also add a little bit of smokiness, a little bit of that extra depth of flavor that you would normally get if some of those dishes were being cooked in the kitchen where there's a tandoori oven. So that's why I do it. It's a little hack that I can't even remember where I figured this out, but we tried it, and it's part of the secret of the chai pani butter chicken, in case you're wondering where that little bit of that background smokiness comes from. There's some other tricks to create smokiness that we do in the restaurant, but for home, if you did this, this is all. Now, you don't have to char the bell pepper. You can, if you just want, just dice this green bell pepper, and make sure it's green, by the way, not red. I know it's the same thing, it's just a color variation. It shouldn't taste any different, but we want green, so do green.
Tell everybody one more time what you're making.
I'm making butter chicken, Chai Pani's most iconic dish, probably one of the most iconic dishes in the Mughlai repertoire. And what we're doing right now is adding charred, chopped up bell pepper, green bell pepper directly into this dish.
And how did you char that bell pepper?
It's really simple. Just take the bell pepper, turn the flame on right there on your range, and with a pair of tongs, just keep rotating it. Just put it on top there and let it sit for 30 seconds, and then rotate until it gets a char on the outside. Now, quite often, we do this so that we can peel the skin off of bell pepper. So, for example, if you're doing like confit bell peppers or pureeing them for a romesco, you'd want to peel the bell pepper because the skin gets a little fibrous and thick. So that's another way. You kind of char it and then wrap it in saran wrap, and it'll let the skin loosen. You can peel it off. But here we want the skin in here. We're going to puree this whole dish when it's done, so we're not too worried about the fibrous nature of the skin. And also we want that char from the charred skin going in here. So that's why the bell peppers are in. All right.
So right now the Spicewalla butter chicken delivery is going to mainly be focused in Atlanta?
Mainly be focused in Atlanta, but hopefully coming soon to other parts of the Southeast. Okay, for those of you that know me, you know what a slut I am for cilantro. I just love me some cilantro. And I'm going to use this for garnish. We're not going to actually put this in for the dish, the whole leaves. But these little stems over here, I'm going to throw them in right now. Because I love the extra body that cilantro stems gives to dishes like this, where you get the flavor without necessarily the leaves floating around in there. So, and I'm just doing a rough dice because this is pretty much going to melt when it hits the oil.
For those of you just catching up, he's making butter chicken, but it will be on IGTV, so you can catch the whole thing.
You can catch the whole thing
later. For those of you that are jumping on and asking.
Both on the Spicewalla channel and on my channel, Chai Time with Meherwan Irani. Speaking of chai, chai time. Alrighty. So really, Indian cooking, this is the part that takes the longest. I've had a number of people message me after seeing these videos saying that they've been trying to, follow these recipes, and sometimes they feel like they're missing something because they don't quite have the same depth of flavor of body. And again, the foundation of good Indian cuisine, of cooking well most Indian dishes, is you're flavoring oil and you're doing it with spices. And that's why we always bloom spices in hot oil, and we fry ginger and fry garlic. And then when you create a gravy or a curry, that oil is getting dispersed amongst, through the entire dish and carrying that flavor with it throughout the dish. So it's not just oil for the sake of, getting a frying action going. That oil is actually the vehicle that's going to deliver flavors from ginger, from garlic, from the green chilies, from the cilantro stems I put in there, and of course the cumin seed, and soon to come the powders, the turmeric powder, the Kashmiri powder. And that's why, even though it looks like we started with a lot of oil, remember, if you're making, a gallon or two pot of butter chicken, that oil's going to disperse through the whole thing. Now, the problem is that quite often it goes too far. So I'm sure many of you have been to Indian restaurants where there's a quarter inch of oil floating on top of a dish, you know, a curry, a mutton curry, a vindaloo, a butter chicken. And it's not actually, that's not how the dish is meant to be served. What's happening is that they're trying to make the dish even more decadent, even more over the top. Quite often they're using ghee. And I get it, but it's not, to me sometimes it's actually taking away from the essential nature of the dish. We're using so much oil that you can't actually taste the flavors of everything else that's going on and taste the nuances and subtleties in the various types of gravies and curries. And quite often I hear people tell me that, oh, curries just all kind of taste the same to me. It's just sort of all a red or brown sort of nondescript sauce with just some protein or vegetable in it. And that's not at all what a curry is. So I try to use the minimal amount of oil that I can, but you still need it because I wanted to carry flavors throughout the dish. And that's again the secret behind any of the chai pani dishes. They taste fresh, they taste light, but they don't taste oily. All right, now normally I break these down a little bit more, but don't forget this is all going to get blended. So I'm going to add my masalas in right now. And this is the first time where you're going to see me using on one of these videos a lot of these masalas. So what are we going to do? We're going to add some turmeric. Probably about a half a teaspoon for about this much. This is not a traditional curry, so we don't got to go too heavy on the turmeric. And don't forget, we actually have some turmeric in the chicken also. Then we're going to add...
You mean in the marinade, what you had marinated
in the
chicken
marinade
in.
for the chicken, exactly. There we go. You can smell it blooming already. Then we're going to add Kashmiri chili powder. And this is what gives the color to butter chicken. So we're going to actually go a little bit heavy with this. I'm going to go with a full teaspoon of this.
Whoa!
And I know it sounds like a lot, but we've got a lot of butter and a lot of cream coming in this dish, and it's going to cut the heat. I mean, what do you do when your mouth's on fire from eating hot chicken wings? Drink a glass of milk, right? Well, that's what's happening automatically. The butter and the cream that we're going to put in here is going to cut back on the heat of that. We're going to add coriander powder.
Sam's concerned that there's not enough heckling going on here.
Sam in the house! I was wondering when the peanut gallery was going to kick
Sam.
in. A little Kentucky action. Sam, always good to see you. So we're adding a little bit of coriander powder. Now, our coriander powder, our Spicewalla brand, we roast it not fine but coarse. So if you look at it, you can see it's not like talcum powder. It's got the same consistency as kosher salt. And it's been roasted
Wait,
first.
you stay still. I'm gonna... There. Okay.
And it's been roasted to bring out the flavor of the coriander seed. Now, of course, we're putting it in the oil so that it'll already get a little roasting action going. But, God, if you ever smell roasted coriander powder, you'll get what coriander seeds are all about. I mean, it's fragrant. It's almost like lemon.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then some cumin powder. And cumin powder is traditionally also ground finely, almost like talcum powder, but we don't. Ours also has a little bit of grain to it, a little bit of texture to it. I like spices that you can, feel between your fingers. I don't want it to be I'm gonna get a little bit, maybe a heaping teaspoon of that. Recipes online, don't forget in case you guys are freaking out. And all of this is now adding that last bit of flavor to the oil and making go, And I think we have garam masala. Teenager in the house, and now you know we have garam masala. I'm like, when is that going? When is that going? If you watch my previous videos, this is a finishing masala. We're not gonna put it in right now. It's gonna just burn and you're gonna lose all the aromatics. So it's got delicate aromatics of cardamom, cinnamon, star anise, black pepper. We don't want to burn all that right now. We want to experience those flavors later. All right, guys. We are now at the stage where this is ready to receive the tomatoes. And this is what we call a masala. It's near burning, but it's not burnt. It's just dark brown. And the reason I like getting to this level is because when I put the tomatoes in, the liquid in, two things are going to happen. The flavor of the oil is going to, completely perfume the entire liquid that's going in. And secondly, this is going to just melt. It's going to vaporize. I mean, all of the stuff in here, you're barely going to notice any onions in your mouth when you're having this dish.
I wish you guys could smell this.
All right.
It smells so good.
So, let's see. Crushed tomatoes, as you know, are my jam. I'm going to put in about, a cup and a half. You know what? Let's just go for it. The recipe's on there. The recipe calls for about a cup and a half for the actual recipe, but I went a little bit larger on the portion size here of the onions. So I feel, and the masala. So I feel like the ratio of tomatoes to be almost 2 cups is just fine. Again, guys, I like cooking by feel. I encourage you guys to learn how to cook by feel too. I know it's important to follow a recipe so you get the foundation and the fundamentals right, but the beautiful thing about cooking Indian food is most mistakes can easily be fixed because we're quite often making a gravy or a curry, and both those dishes have a lot of flexibility. You can add a little bit more salt, you can add a little bit more liquid, you can add a little bit more of anything. Even if the masala was light, I could right now in a saute pan with some oil, bloom some more spices, and then add them to the dish if for some reason my recipe was off. And if I went too heavy, well, I'd do the opposite. Then I'd add a little bit more liquid or coconut milk or tomatoes or broth or whatever it is to bring it back into balance. So trust your palate. It should taste good. It should taste right.
Clarify a little bit about the tomatoes that you use. Somebody was under the impression that you boiled them to make them pureed, but
No.
you just were using...
I just use, again, we've talked about this in previous videos, but it's worth repeating. Canned crushed tomatoes are the best for most Indian cuisine. In fact, for most cooking with tomatoes, if it's going to be a gravy, a sauce, a tomato sauce, pizza, you want canned crushed high quality tomatoes. I mean, I'll use San Marzanos in Indian cooking if I have to, because I just love how rich and sweet they are. You don't have to, you can just use regular canned tomatoes, but make sure they're crushed, make sure they're unsalted, make sure there's no basil or anything in them, and you should easily find them. And I prefer crushed to even diced, because the crushed really creates a thick puree, which is what we want to cook with. And the reason I like canned tomatoes, I prefer it, and of course you can use organic to fresh tomatoes, is because most grocery store fresh tomatoes were not ripened on the vine. They were picked green and then gassed to get that color, and they're just not going to be as sweet and rich and ripe as, for example, an heirloom tomato that's vine ripened in the farmer's market. You know the difference between the two? Well, imagine if those were canned on the vine in Italy or California or wherever the weather is perfect for ripe, juicy tomatoes. And that's why they have so much flavor to them. Always cook any kind of a tomato sauce with crushed tomatoes. You won't regret it. And also, you'll always have tomatoes. I mean, there's a reason folks used to can this stuff, so you could have tomatoes year round. And you know, I got beautiful canned tomatoes, a larder pantry full of them that I can whip out anytime I need to cook and not worry about going to the store just to get tomatoes. Okay, my goodness. So, if you're wondering where my seasoning is, and I know you've heard me talk about salting all the time, I had salted the onions while when I was sweating them. So there's already a little bit of salt going, but I'm going to add a little bit more right now. The recipe for the total amount of salt is online, but I like divvying up that salt as we go, adding it to the dish as we cook, and tasting along the way. I mean, this is a good phase in a few minutes to taste it to see if there's anything off with this or not. Huh? It's actually perfectly seasoned. I don't want to add any more salt at this point. Oh man, this is going to form a phenomenal base for this dish. All right, guys, while this is happening, you're wondering, what about the chicken? Let's do the chicken, right? I'm going to move some things around.
What temperature do you have this? Is this like medium?
Yes. I mean, when I'm first frying the onions, I start on high. As the onions start browning, I turn it down to medium. When I first put the tomatoes in, I turn it on high. Once they start bubbling and frothing a little bit, turn it down to medium. So work with your temperature. Work with the temperature, and use common sense. So let's move the pan over here.
This was the pan that you fried the onions in.
That was the pan that I fried the onions in. As Molly well knows, I am a clean as I go, multi-purpose, multi-function chef. And I why take another fresh pan out to cook the onion in when you already have a pan that you just cook the onions in with the oil that's already in there, already flavored from the onions.
Onion-scented oil.
Onion-scented oil is already there. I actually have onion-scented oil, still a little bit left over from last week when I made pakoras. Still have a little bit of that left over. Gonna add a little bit more to this because we want to sear off the chicken in here, and we want to brown the chicken. We don't want to boil the chicken or sweat the chicken. So get your oil really nice and hot because we're searing chicken.
Sam thinks you're so practical. Such a
Thank you,
practical
Sam.
chef.
Yes. We just, a lot of these habits are ingrained from just growing up in India, where we're really back as a kid. Resources were valuable. Water, oil, soap. The average middle-class family growing up was always very careful and very practical. Every Indian housewife was really practical. Reuse, repurpose, waste nothing. So, you know, that's just ingrained into the way we, and even with dishes, like we don't cook with a lot of dishes because that means cleaning up, that means using water, that means using soap, that means using labor. So, you know, I always watch my mom cook with minimal dishes and reuse and repurpose a lot. All right, I'm just making sure this is not burning and it's just looking beautiful. This is starting to sizzle. There's a little bit of leftover onions in there. No biggie, they're just gonna add flavor to this entire dish. And let me glove up.
Sam is commenting on how your hair looks smaller, but I think I need a close-up.
I've showered. It's still there when I showered.
Just as poofy as always. It's
And I
not
trimmed the
changing till after we get out of this quarantine.
All right. I love working with meat with my bare hands, but not chicken. I glove up for chicken. Okay. Hear that sizzling and searing? That's what we want.
Your pan's on high?
Hands on high. Pan is on high.
Sam is volunteering Farhan to do your dishes. He's just a little bit far away. Not sure how that would
Not
work.
sure.
But we'll take you up on it next time.
Okay, now guys, and if you notice, I am placing the chicken strategically and not just dump it all in the pan. Here's why. If any restaurant chef will tell you, don't crowd the chicken. Don't put so much chicken in the pan to where it starts sweating instead of just frying and caramelizing. So I'm going to wait there and then we'll finish this batch later. I mean, we don't need this much chicken. We'll put that aside for now.
Can Farhan grill the chicken instead of frying it?
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, normally you can make this dish with leftover tandoori chicken. I'm pretty sure this is how the origin of the dish originally came about. Was probably leftover tandoori chicken, pulled off the bone, and then put into a sauce. The chicken was probably getting a little dried out, but by cooking in the sauce, it rehydrated the smokiness of the chicken, add the flavor to the sauce. I'm almost positive that's how butter chicken came to be. Because again, in India, repurpose, reuse, you know, don't.
Nothing goes to waste.
Nothing goes to waste, yeah. Let's see. This is what happens when you have too many tools for the job, but a couple more seconds there. We're cooking on high. All right, guys. Now, guess what this bad boy is ready for over here? This is ready for butter and cream. So we're gonna put the butter in first. And the recipe calls for about 6 tablespoons of butter, 6 to 8. If you like it more buttery, put a little more butter. Who's gonna notice, right? It's called butter chicken, for God's sakes. So I just cut them up into small pieces so that they'll melt easily. And now, again, important tip. This dish has both butter and heavy cream. And I put the butter in first because I want the butter to incorporate with the masala, with the tomatoes, and mitigate some of the acidity of the tomatoes. In the past, when I first started cooking this dish, if I noticed when I put the heavy cream in, every now and then the cream would split because of the acidity from the tomatoes. So I learned that if I put the butter in first and sort of like cut the acidity of the tomatoes with the butter and the proteins from the butter going in there, so that the heavy cream wouldn't split and it incorporated better. So that's why butter first. Don't just dump it all at the same time. And if you could, you know, but then you're taking a chance.
This was unsalted butter, right?
This is unsalted butter, and I typically, when putting butter in dishes like this, I go with unsalted. If you only have salted butter, that's fine. Just make sure that you don't salt the dish too heavily to start with, knowing that there's salt and butter. And bear in mind, there was salt in this chicken too. So I had that in mind when I was salting this dish, that the salt from this is going to get added to that entire dish.
Farhan says you're bringing in the ghost of Paula Deen with all of that butter.
Hey, I am brown in the South.
I know. Well, Sam says that you're...
I am a Southerner.
Sam wants to know if you'd consider yourself India's answer to Paula Deen.
Well, how do I answer that without tactfully?
Butter is good. Let's just say that,
Let's
right?
just say butter
is a good
good.
thing in this cooking.
I'm the antidote to Paula Deen in the South. I'm brown, big hair, Indian accent on demand, Southern accent y'all too, and like cooking with butter. So there you go. You know, Sam, I'm sure you can appreciate this too. I love being a Southerner. It has given me, first of all, there's so much in common with the way I like to cook and food in the South. And second of all, give me permission to get my butter on, to get my ham hock on, to get my fat on, to get my collards and my greens on. because I love. All right, so the butter is in there. It's beautiful, and look at this dish, bubbling with the butter. And now we're gonna add the heavy cream. It's already out. Look at my.
So you turn that down a little bit. That's
I
more
turn it
like a
down.
simmer now?
Yeah, turn it down to a
The
simmer.
sauce, okay.
And guys, all I'm doing is if I'm stepping away from this dish, I'm turning it down a second. It's just a habit I have because the last thing I want to do is forget I have this thing on high and burn the shit out of something. So up and down, work with the flame. The flame should never be static. Twiddle it, like be a DJ, man. Mix those knobs. Work that gas. Fucking scratch it, baby, scratch it. All right, let's go with the heavy cream. I'm gonna say about a cup and change, and it's in the recipe again before you people start freaking out. But and I'm gonna pour it in slowly and mix in again to make sure it doesn't split. Now I could dump the whole thing and be perfectly fine. You never know, but you know, the last thing I want to do is when I got a full house and a full kitchen and people waiting for their butter chicken, just have to redo it again because I effed up. All right, that's about a cup.
Sam says, "Holy lactate, Batman."
All right.
So you said a cup-ish of that.
A cup-ish of butter.
No,
and
of cream.
Of cream, sorry. And hell, a cup of butter too if you want. Now you can see we have browning action. Now I don't have to worry about clouding my pan. It's all looking good, all looking good. And let's add a little bit of hot water to thin this out a little bit. In the recipe.
Jess is wondering what would happen if you added some vodka in here.
That would be delicious. I mean, heck, what vodka? I'd probably put a little bourbon in there. I don't want those sweet notes from the bourbon in here. Is this Vish asking?
This is Jess.
Oh, Jess. You know, nah, we're going to today. But hey, you want to splash a little bourbon in this the next time and see what it does? It probably caramelizes and gets nice and sweet. It's probably, guys, I mean, look at that color. Look at that color. I'm going to hit it with a little hot water. Why hot?
I'm coming around because we've got a shadow over here. So I want you to see it because it really is so beautiful. There you go. Now you can see the color.
Okay, I'm just waiting for the water to heat up. And in case you're wondering why I'm putting hot water here, it's because the dish is hot, dum-dum. And if I put cold water in there, I'm dropping my temp down. So by keeping hot water in there.
So hot water just from the tap you put in there from
Just from the tap, yeah. And I'm thinning it out because otherwise right now we just have pure butter and cream. So we're thinning it out a little bit so we can actually have a sauce. And when you puree this all the way, by the way, it'll thicken back up again. I know it looks a little light right now, but it's going to thicken right back up again. All right, this chicken is almost done. And guess what we're about to do with this chicken? Put it in the butter sauce. Now, normally I wouldn't. Normally what I do is pull this out or leave it in here and use an immersion blender to go ahead and just, you know, turn this into a beautiful, smooth, creamy paste. Let's do this actually. Let's move this over so we can talk about this dish in real time. Okay, so in a couple of minutes, well, I think it's already ready for the little garam masala. So I'm going to add some garam masala now. Remember I said it's a finishing masala? So we're going to add that in. And you want to be judicious in the use of garam masala, just lightly. You don't want this to start smelling like potpourri. So I went light. I went maybe a half a teaspoon. If you really like those flavors, if you want to amp it up a little bit, add a little bit more. It's a finishing masala, so you can add it late in the game. You don't have to worry about it. Let's try this bad boy. Honey, I forgot the most important essence of butter chicken.
What?
This is why you taste as you go. Always has taste as you go. Forgot a critical component, the sweetness.
Oh.
And where does the sweetness of butter chicken come from? It comes from jaggery. And jaggery is essentially unrefined sugarcane juice that's been dehydrated, and they make a big block of it, and it basically tastes like, you know, straight up sugarcane. I don't have any jaggery, but I think we have some light brown sugar in the pantry.
We have light brown sugar in the
I'm gonna go
pantry.
grab that.
Sam would like to have a masala chart. What does that mean? What's a masala chart? Like a chart of what all the masalas are?
Sam, what's a masala chart? You've got me intrigued. You have me
We're intrigued.
very intrigued. Okay.
So light brown sugar can be a jaggery substitute.
Light brown sugar can be a jaggery substitute. And we're going to put a healthy amount in here. This is the trick with butter chicken. It's meant to be sweet. So let's start with that. Recipes online. Don't freak out, peoples.
It doesn't usually have pureed cashews, Jess is asking.
Yes, if the early part of this, Jess, we were talking exactly about this. We were talking about either pureed poppy seed or melon musk seed or cashews, and it's used as a thickener. And earlier I demonstrated that I don't like doing that. I just find that that's too cloying, too unctuous, too rich, too creamy. Works great for once in a while as a special Mughalai feast. But for everyday cooking, if you want to make butter chicken at home and keep it a little bit on the lighter side, I mean, lighter means there's, a stick of butter and a cup of cream, but having said that, I don't put that in. What I did instead was I charred a bell pepper, if you caught that earlier, and diced up a charred bell pepper and put it in there, and that will have the same effect once you puree this whole thing as with the poppy seed paste. It'll help thicken and give body without it being heavy. So, we put our sugar in there. Let's taste and see. Oh, yeah. There's that signature butter chicken slight sweetness, and it's from brown sugar. I like that sweetness so much.
He's adding
I'm
more.
gonna add just a little bit more. Okay, and while it's bubbling away, in goes our chicken. And if you guys are going, Meherwan, I thought this was supposed to be a smooth, creamy sauce. What happened? Well, here's what happened. I could have pulled out the blender, and I could have pureed this and turned into that silky, smooth, and butter creamy sauce. And you're absolutely welcome to do that. Rosie, come here, go. And you're absolutely welcome to do that at home. I just don't like doing dishes, guys. I'm not making this for the restaurant. I'm making this for the family. If my sauce is a little chunky, that's okay. The flavor is still there. We don't care, and you can make it, and it's a little chunky, and there's still a few bits of bell peppers in there that haven't pureed.
By chunky, you just mean like onions and bell pepper.
And exactly, all the masala, the whole bits are still in there. Much of it has, liquefied with the cooking process, but there's still some chunks of, probably a little chunk of tomato or a little bit of the bell pepper still whole in there. And normally if you pureed all that, you'd have the silken smooth sauce, but I decided to not do that, to just go ahead and put the chicken in there, and voila, people, butter chicken. Just look at that.
Sam says that Rosie was chiming in, so she wants you to blend it. Rosie the dog, her opinion is that you should blend it. My opinion is that it smells amazing.
All right, let's use one of our good friends at East Fork Pottery's bowl over here. Now, butter chicken can be enjoyed with naan, with rice, with starch of choice. I love it with rice, but also sometimes love it with just some naan in a bowl and just mop it up with the bread. So, don't call it naan bread. I didn't. All right. All right, folks, and there you have it. Butter chicken, chai pani style, not pureed, ready for the home chef. And a little sprig of.
Look at that, so pretty. Smells pretty good.
Guys, oh man. It's funny, what is it that makes this dish so beloved and so iconic and so appealing to the Western palate? Probably those buttloads of butter and cream in there, but the crazy part is it doesn't taste any richer or any heavier than even like a coconut curry. I know it's got a lot going on in there, but when it's done right, you're not eating a bowl of butter or heavy cream. You're eating a beautifully balanced, sweet, creamy, spicy, with all these background flavors coming together. It's phenomenal. It's easy to see why this is considered one of India's greatest contributions to the world of Mughalai cooking. This is on par with any mother sauce, any classic French dish. I'd put this up against some of the best dishes in the world. Any kind of sauce, any kind of gravy. Butter chicken is right up there with it. I'd consider this one of the great dishes in the world. So, until next time, Here's to you all. Please try your butter chicken at home. Let me know how it turns out. Tag me so that I can follow you and see how your butter chicken endeavors are going on. At Meherwan Irani, at Chaipani, at Spicewalla. Just let us know how the dish turned out for you. If you have any questions about the dish, DM me, and I'll see you guys on Saturday where we'll come up with another iconic Chaipani dish. I think we're gonna go for saag paneer. All right, guys, take care. See y'all next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.